I cannot tell you how many weddings I've been to in which either the person officiating the wedding or a grandparent or someone who is well-meaning but wants to give the new couple some advice. I can't tell you how many times I've heard, cut up your credit cards, you don't need them. Now, in some cases, if a person is really poor and they have an addiction to spending money and they are spending way more than they are creating, yes, that could be good advice to pull someone out of poverty and into middle class. However, that will not help a person become wealthy. I love my credit cards. They make me happy because it's leverage. What's the word? It's leverage, which allows me to use other people's money. What's it called? Allows me to use other people's money in order to invest in things and put more money into my pocket. Does this make sense? In fact, that kind of leads us to another misconception, which is avoid debt at all costs. Avoid debt like the plague. Who grew up learning that misconception? Raise your hand. Say aye. Now, here's the thing that a lot of people don't understand. There is a huge difference between debt and a loan. Oh, but Eric, those are the exact same thing. No, they're not. These two words are planets apart. How far apart? Debt is something that takes money out of your pocket. So go ahead and shout out some examples of debt. Consumer, yeah. What else? Probably, do you know what the number one source of actual debt is? And no, it's not medical. Probably the number one source of actual debt. Education that people do not use. How many of you know someone that has the misconception that the counsel to get as much education as you can means get as many pieces of paper with your name on the wall as you possibly can? Who knows someone like that? Say aye. Now, can that be effective for some people? Absolutely. Are there people that go the traditional route and they get a doctorate or a law degree and they take that degree and they form it to create a very successful medical, chiropractic, or law practice? Are there people like that? Absolutely. In that case, that would be a very, very smart route. Both of us have college degrees. I am not anti-traditional education. What I am for is education that you do use. I can't count the amount of people that go through the traditional school system and they spend thousands of dollars and thousands of hours of their time to get a piece of paper and they make $9 an hour. That is so sad to me because that very much becomes what? What is it? And they have to continue to make payments on that for years and years to come while not receiving a what? A return on their investment. True or true? On the flip side, a loan uses someone else's money to put money back into your pocket. And one of the best examples of a loan is education that you do use. Again, how much does it cost to become a doctor? Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. True or true? Are there people that will earn that degree and then they decide they don't want to practice? Absolutely. I know multiple people that have gone through chiropractic school, earned a chiropractic degree, practiced for a number of months, and then decided, nope, this isn't for me, and they never used their degree again. It cost them over $250,000. In that case, is that a loan or is that debt? That is very much debt. On the flip side, are there people that decide they don't want to go the traditional route and they simply hire mentors or they come to seminars like these and they read books and they take that information and they grow themselves and then it puts money back into their pocket? Is that debt or a loan? Very much a loan. A lot of people, a lot of middle class people have kind of what I call the be-all, end-all financial goal of being what? It's fascinating to me. Whenever I meet with someone for the first time one-on-one, I have them fill out a questionnaire, and one of the questions on there is, if you had any 3 wishes granted to you right now, what would they be? I can't tell you how many people, one of their 3 wishes, they always say debt-free. And I look at them right in the eyes, and I say, that's an interesting answer. You could have wished for literally anything you wanted, and you put debt-free. Quick question, how come you didn't ask to be rich? If you were rich, you would probably have plenty to pay off all of your debts, plus much, much more. True or true? And it's fascinating because they look at me and they go, I never thought of it that way. And I say, that's why you're not rich. But it's true. A lot of people view debt like this crushing weight. And their biggest goal is to what? Get out of it. How many of you know people like that? Raise your hand, say I. On the flip side, wealthy people use loans like a platform to stand on, to help launch them into greater levels of success. Does this make sense to you all? Years ago, when we were still on welfare, my wife and I decided we wanted to invest in ourselves, and so we decided to go to a 4-day training. How many days? A 4-day training to learn how to be better presenters and learn how to do what we do here on stage. It was an absolutely life-changing class, one that I will never, ever forget. On the last day of the class, the presenter offered a continuation course, a class that was going to last for another 6 months to help us better master the skills that were taught during those 4 days. And I remember listening to the details of this class, and oh boy, I was just salivating. And I'm looking at Heather going, oh my gosh, Heather, that's it. If I can get that training, oh my gosh, I know I can get us out of this pit that we're in. And Heather's listening to the training, and she's looked at me, and she goes, you really do need that training. And I'm like, yes, that's it. And so I stood up to go sign up. And then I saw the price. It was $5,000, which when you're on welfare, is that a little investment or big investment? That's a huge investment, true or true? And so I went to sit back down. Thankfully, Heather grabs my arm and goes, go sign up. And I'm going, Heather, do you see that price? I said, Heather, if I had $5,000, I could buy groceries. I could actually be the one to pay for the roof over our heads. And she just looked at me with those gorgeous hazel eyes, and she said, Eric, is it right? And I said, it doesn't make any sense. And she goes, How's it feel? And I'm like freaking out. I'm like, I feel peaceful about it. And she looks at me, and she said, Eric, if it's right, what else matters? Say that with me. If it's right, what else matters? Twice as loud. Right. What else? 10 times as loud. If it's right, what else matters? And so I'm trying to be this macho husband, right? I'm like, I'm not signing up. She goes, you go back there and you're signing up. I'm not signing up. I'm telling you I'm not signing up. She goes, you're signing up. I said, I'm okay. And I go to the back and I grab a registration form, and I'm freaking out so bad that I'm literally shaking and hyperventilating because I had no logical way to pay for it. It didn't make any sense. Thankfully, she comes up to me again and she puts her hand on my shoulder and said, Eric, is it right? I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. I was taught not to go into debt for these things. I was taught not to take out loans for this type of thing. And again, she just looked at me and she said, is it right? Yeah. Then what else matters? And so I had to use other people's money. What is it? In this case, the bank, or in this case, multiple banks, because I maxed out every single credit card that I had, and I got signed up for that training. And within 4 months, our income quintupled. From there, it plateaued for about 3 months. And I turned to Heather again and I said, okay, I did really, really well with this group stuff. Now what do? I feel like I need a one-on-one mentor. A what? So this particular trainer who taught this course that I signed up for has a woman that works under him, and who's also a mentor. And so I called her up and I said, okay, here's the deal. I feel like I need a one-on-one mentor. I know I'm capable of so much more. How many of you know what I'm talking about? How many of you know that you're capable of so much more than you're doing right now? Say I. That's how I felt. And so I called this particular mentor, and she gave me a price, and I went, ugh, okay. And I pretty much maxed out yet another credit card. 5 days later. How long? I'm on my way to my office at the time when I get this crazy inspiration. Okay, you hired her, now go hire him. And I'm going, are you kidding? To hire him at the time was $25,000. Did I have $25,000 sitting in my bank at that time? Nope. But the impression kept coming back to me. And so I sent this woman a text. I said, I've got this really weird impression. I know I need to work with you, but I also feel like I need to hire him as well. What do I do? She said, let me call you back. She calls me back later that afternoon and said, here's the deal. He just announced this morning that he wasn't going to do personal mentoring anymore. And I said, oh my word. She said, but, and I said, thank heavens for buts. She said, but he knows who you are. He's actually been wanting to work with you. And so if you can get the funds in right away, he will make an exception and he will mentor you. How soon can you get the funds in? How many of you have ever had an experience where a word came out of your mouth that didn't come from you? Who's experienced that before? Say I. That happened to me because the moment she asked me how soon I can get the funds in, the word came out of my mouth, tomorrow? Huh? And so I go home and I'm having an argument with my own self, with my own subconscious. I'm like, are you kidding me? We're supposed to come up with $25,000 in a day? Yep. You want to show me how? Yep. Now would be a good time. So all these crazy ideas started coming to me, and it was like, go to this bank over here, get a loan. Go to this bank over here, get an additional credit card. Talk to this person, do this, and this. And I'm going, this is insane. Oh my gosh, do you realize how many more loans I'm supposed to be taking out that I'm going to owe to someone else? But the answer kept coming to me, this is right. Go and do it. And so I did. And 24 hours later, I called this woman up and I said, okay, I've got the $25,000. Count me in. And that's what made all the difference for me. Within a very few months, I did have $25,000 sitting in my bank account, and much, much more. And it's fascinating because a lot of people looked at me and they said, oh, gosh, Eric, you are so foolish. Good heavens. Well, I mean, yeah, if I had an extra $25,000 sitting in my bank account, of course I would do that. And I would look at them and I would say, you're missing the point. It's because I didn't have $25,000 sitting in my bank account. That's why I did it. So that very, very quickly, I would have $25,000 and much, much more sitting in my bank account. And guess what? It happened very, very quickly. Within a couple of months, I was making more than $25,000 every single month, and much, much more. But let me put it this way. Imagine, hypothetically speaking, of course, let's say that what you currently earn right now is $2,000 a month, and that what you owe in credit cards, loans, whatever, is $10,000. Let's say your monthly expenses are $1,500 a month, leaving you with an extra $500 a month cash flow. Are you with me so far? What would most middle-class people do with this whole $500 if that's how much they owed? Put it towards this, true or true? Because that's the wise thing to do, right? Math question for you. You ready? Not factoring in interest rates or anything like that, how many times would you need to get paid at this rate to pay this whole thing off? 20 times. And again, that's what a lot of middle-class people do. Every extra bit of cash flow, every extra dollar they have, they automatically give it back to the bank or whoever it is. There's only one problem with that. Yes, they might pay this whole thing off, but how much are they still making? There's no increase, is there? Now, let's say that rather than following that model, this person follows what a lot of wealthy or soon-to-be wealthy people do. And for a short period of time, they pay just the minimum payment towards this. Let's say it's $100, leaving this person with an extra $400 a month cash flow. You with me so far? That they can then invest into their education. Into what? Let's say they want the absolute best education they possibly can. So they go out and they hire a personal mentor. Hire a what? And so they want the best personal mentor possible, and so they take out some additional loans. And so now, instead of $10,000 that they owe, they now owe $40,000. But let's say they take everything that they learned from that personal mentor and they apply it and they go full force. And so now, instead of $2,000 a month, they're making $50,000 a month. Let's say that their monthly expenses are now $5,000 a month, leaving them with a $45,000 a month cash flow. If this is the case, how many times do you have to get paid at this rate to pay this whole thing off? Once. Even though this is now 4 times greater, is this more difficult or easier to pay off? Much, much easier. My friends, this is what my wife and I did. We invested that first $25,000, and very, very quickly, we were able to write a check for the entire amount and still have much, much more. And then it was time to hire our $100,000 mentor. And guess what? We've received return after return. Help me out here. Return after return after return on it. And so, again, money misconception is avoid debt at all costs. And yes, if we're talking about actual debt, yes, that's a good thing to do. It's good to avoid that. However, one more time, loans uses someone else's money to put more money, in this case, a lot more money, back into your pocket. Does this make sense to everyone?